Hello everybody. Today I'm gonna do something to these windows. I'm renovating this room here. I tore the carpet out. I'm putting on down hardwood flooring, but I've come to the window here and I don't like the way this window is. If you notice, this is drywall all the way up and around the corner here into this window, and then this is a metal frame of the window. And that interface between the window and the drywall moves a little bit, and so what happens is you get a crack between the window and the drywall. You get all this movement up in there and it looks really crappy. In addition, this has been here for 20 years. This is the original window when the house was built, and it's sort of gotten kind of nasty looking over the years. This is the seam between the window and the wall, and then down in here it looks pretty nasty. This bottom piece is moving a little bit, and so I'm gonna show you a trick to take care of this. Do something really cool. And the first thing I'm gonna do, well, one thing I want to say is that this is a metal window, and during the winter it gets moisture on it because the house is humid, and that moisture ends up affecting this piece right here. This is drywall, and it's not a good situation. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that. So the first thing I gotta do is take the blinds out. I'm gonna buy new blinds. These are aluminum blinds and they're all kind of bent up. So I'll take the blinds out. So the first step is I gotta remove this windowsill here, and mine happens to be really loose, so I think I could just pull it up like that, and once you get it started, you can just carefully pry it off. It's got to kind of come up because otherwise you'll tear up these corners. Once you get it up past the nails, it comes right out. But I'm prying it up, trying to pry it straight up. We're going to replace it so we don't care if we break it. We just don't want to wreck the house. Got to open the windows a little bit because it's interfering with that. Actually, the nails are all out. It's just wedged in, so if I pull it this way, there we go. Now, if you look at this on my window, you look at all these slots in here and you go, what the heck is all this? What kind of wood is this? Well, this happens to be a door jamb. And so I went to the hardware store and I picked up, whoops, a new door jamb, unpainted, but brand new, and I'm going to put this in here just like this, and eventually I'm going to trim this window so it's going to come out. So I want this to be long enough to be underneath the trim when it comes out here. So I will measure, I'll clean up this opening, measure my marks and cut this out and get it ready. But remember that you want it to be long enough to go underneath any trim that might be around the window. I don't know if you can see over there, but right here, the trim's going to come down. So I want this to be sticking out a little bit from the trim that comes down, because there's going to be trim around this window. So I'll go ahead and clean up the opening, cut the wood, and be back to you after that. Okay, so I have cleaned up the window, vacuumed out all the loose stuff, took a wash rag and cleaned all the surfaces of the window. And now I'm going to get ready to measure the length of the board that's going to go on the bottom here in the sill. And so what I want to do is I want to measure the overall length of the window, which is 75 1/8 inches. 75 1/8. This trim is what I'm going to be putting on here. This is going to be on like this. And this provides 2 1/4 inches more. So 2 1/4, 2 1/4 is 4 1/2. And 75 1/8 is 79 3/4. 79 3/4. And this piece of wood here isn't long enough to do 79 3/4. Yes, because it is 81 inches where this notch out is. So I'm going to cut it to 79 3/4 inches. Also, I'm going to, well, that'll be my first cut. Then I'll center it on the window and I'll mark my notch out areas. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I cut this board 79 3/4, and then I calculated the middle part, the middle of it, which is 39 7/8, and I marked the middle of the window. So now I place this up here, align the middle of the board with the middle of the window, and just verify that there's approximately equal on each side, so I didn't mess up my calculations. And then I mark what I'm planning on cutting out. I'm going to mark here, here, and over here. this one is going to be 3 3/16 into the board. 3 3/16. Measuring off of this window. This is same distance, 3 3/16. So I'm going to mark that. And then down here, it's 3 1/4. They're a little off from each other, but 3 1/4. Mark that. So basically I want to cut out this area and that area. So I will go, what I'm going to use is a scrolling saw, and I guess I don't need to show you how to do that because you should know how to do that or watch another video. But I'm just going to be really careful and do it right. I'm going to first take a straight edge and draw my square and then just cut it with a scrolling saw, and I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, so I cut my wood and I put it on, and I noticed that it fits real good. Real good. And so all of the seams are going to be covered up. So you'll see how every seam on this thing is going to be covered up later. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it pretty much is. So now that I know that, this surface is all cleaned up, and this is solid wood. So I'm going to take some of this liquid nails and put a liberal amount on, because I'm not planning on changing this again. This shouldn't be something that you have to change every now. I think it's partly due to the craftsmanship of the original builder. That's why I'm redoing it. Put that on carefully. Start up high and then go down. Wiggle it a little. Get my trusty hammer. And that is solid. Ain't going anywhere. Underneath is flush. Piece of trim down here. It is solid. And I've got an area on the end for my molding. Go like that. That works out. Okay, the next step in this process is I want to put something inside here. Inside this area of the window. Here. Inside of here, cover up this crack here. Something that's preferably waterproof or water resistant. And what I happen to have here is a piece of cement siding. And it has a wood pattern on it. It's to make it look, it's got like wood grain, and when this is painted it really looks nice. So I'm gonna, it comes in long strips this wide, and I'm gonna cut the pieces to fit inside here and glue it in and trim it, and that's gonna make my window the way I want it to look. So I will show you how that's done. So the first piece you like to do is the top. And I'm going to measure that. Distance, the length of the board is going to be 35 1/4. The inside of this window is a little bit narrower than the outside. 35 1/4 will work. I like to allow 1/8 of an inch so that I don't have trouble getting it in. But 35 1/4 is the length, and the width is 3 3/8, but I take 1/8 off, so 3 1/4. Measure the bottom. 3 1/8. So I'm going to go 3 1/8. You pick the smallest part so it doesn't stick out. I'm going to go 3 1/8 at the 3 1/8 will be just right at the bottom, and there'll be a little bit of a gap at the top, but that's okay because caulk is going to make up the difference. So we want it to be 3 1/8. So actually the top is 3 3/8 on that side and 3 3/8 on that side. So I want to make it a 3 1/4. 3 1/4 by 35 1/4. 3 1/4 by 35 1/4. So I got my piece of siding on the floor here, and I have one of these box cutter knives, a brand new blade in it, and I want to be 35 1/4. The end of this has already been broken off, has already been split off. I'm gonna have to clean that up. So, but I'm gonna, from the good edge, 35 1/4, I'm gonna put this T-square on here, right at the 35 1/4 mark. Make sure it's right.
And now I'm going to score it 5 times. That's just what I do, 5 times. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you just flip it over, bend it, and it breaks right at that spot. $35.25. I should have probably made it a little bit longer. I trim this edge up a little bit. Now this is my table saw, and I have a blade on here that cuts hardy backer type boards. It's carbide tipped and specifically made to cut this type of material. I have it set for 3